wrote a letter to the president. The feds and the cops, misled killing, when will it stop? So back on the block we keep them things cocked, cause we know the police never knock.
Let him go! What the fuck?
And my urban report right now is joined by attorney John Burris, who is the attorney representing the family of Oscar Grant, the 22-year-old who was gunned down on New Year's Day in Oakland, California, in the San Francisco Bay Area, rather. And some latest developments. The officer who was involved in the shooting has now been arrested. So why don't you, first of all, bring us up to speed on the latest developments. What do you know about the suspect now, and what's the latest in this case?
Well, today there was a press conference by the district attorney's office, and and he advised that an arrest warrant had been issued in a complaint alleging murder against this particular officer. The officer has been in Las Vegas, outside of Tahoe, and he's being brought back here for arraignment. That should take place probably tomorrow or the next day. The charge is just murder. It is not a degree of murder, first or second, which is probably applicable, appropriate. I believe the charge on its face looks like a second-degree murder to me, but that's what has happened so far today. The family I've had discussions with, they're certainly pleased that has taken place, and that hopefully now that he'll be brought before the court and people will have a chance to see him now.
What was the feeling? What was your feeling when you heard of the arrest? Did you have any heads up that this was going to take place?
Well, I didn't have any heads up. I knew 2 days ago that they were getting close to filing charges. I had been told that that's going to take place real quickly. I had provided a couple other witnesses for them to interview. They did. Once they interviewed them, I think they realized that they had sufficient evidence at that time to bring charges, and they did. But my feeling is I'm quite pleased about it, of course. It's been a long time coming. I thought that charges should have been filed months ago. I mean, not months ago, but right after it happened, because it's pretty clear once you look at the tapes that this was a murder, and that if you commit a murder in this country, you're supposed to be arrested right away. Well, that took longer than one would expect, but it did happen, and so we are pleased about that.
Now, looking at the video, of course, you distributed copies of the raw cell phone video to the press outlets, including my urban report. There's been some speculation. I was just reading some of the comments on some of the blogs, the comments in some of the media coverage, that he may have confused his weapon with a taser.
Well, there's no evidence of that. I mean, it looks pretty clear that his acts were intentional. And so he is now not making that argument. Now he's making an argument that he thought he was reaching for something, that maybe he saw something that justified that. It is a bogus argument, but it's a counter argument that one makes when you have no argument to make, no legitimate argument to make, and there's a videotape that describes his conduct. So he's trying to find a way to offer some justification in between where the video can't see. So this is a guy who's trying to offer some justification for his conduct.
So the fact that he hasn't offered any sort of statement, he's pleaded the fifth, is that any indication that he has done some wrongdoing to you?
Well, yes. I mean, if he thought it was an accident or he reached for the other weapon, he could have said that very night. But he didn't. He didn't say that. He could have said that I reached for the wrong weapon or the gun went off accidentally. That would have been the honorable thing to do. But if you don't do that and you hide and then you run by not giving a statement at all, that certainly would suggest to me that you know that you will have some culpability here, and that you're trying to now figure out a story that you think that could work at some later point.
So what's the community and the family reaction? Now, of course, there were some riots last week in the wake of the funeral. What's been the community reaction so far, if you're able to gauge that?
Well, the family is obviously pleased, as I said before, that he has been charged. The community certainly has been in an angry, frustrated state, and have expressed their feelings by having rallies and protest marches. And there's one planned today. I'm hopeful that with the charges being filed, that it would sort of take the wind out of any need to engage in unlawful behavior. I do think that it's appropriate to protest and to rally and make your statements known, and they should go forward with that activity.
So what's next now in terms of the prosecution? What's next in terms
Well,
of
what's next is he's been brought down from out of state, and now he's going to have an arraignment that should take place in a day or so. And once that takes place, it's a no bail warrant. So he will make a request for bail, and if bail is set, that's one thing. If bail is not set, then he will be held in custody, and the case will go forward on a normal trial track.
Attorney, what message does it send to law enforcement? Is this a statement to the fact that...
Well, my message is for anybody that police officers should be held to the same standards as anyone else when you commit an outrageous act like murder. And when you commit murder, then you should be prosecuted for committing murder, whether you're a police officer or not. So there should not be two systems of justice in this country. And hopefully, I can't say this goes a long ways toward even in the score, because it doesn't. I think that without the videotape, nothing probably would have happened.
Speaking of the videotape, is this a testament now to the power of the community, to citizen journalists, to folks with their cell phone cameras? What's your message? How does this play into this whole situation? I know we spoke about this, but if you could just elaborate for us.
Well, my sense is that the power here is to the community, and they're vigilant and staying focused and being aggressive and making the public officials being responsive to them and making them move ways, and ultimately saying that they're not going to just sit by and accept what happened here, that they're going to be responsive to the needs of the community, which is very appropriate and fair. Thousands and thousands of people ride the BART trains every day, and so black people, whites, Asians, people of all colors. So it's important for all of them to know that they will receive fair treatment if the police officer does something inappropriate to them while on BART.
And in the light of this arrest, do you expect that this is going to calm the public, those who were engaged in these sort of civil unrest?
Well, I don't know that it will, but I hope that it at least calms the issue about engaging in violence. I do think that rallies and protests are appropriate and should occur, and it should occur in a way where you have vigorous debate and discussions taking place. I think that's entirely appropriate.
Attorney John Burris, spending a few minutes with myurbanreport.com. Any other thoughts, any other additions that you'd like to add before we wrap this up?
Well, it's a very important day for all of us here in this community. If the prosecution hadn't filed these charges or had filed some lesser included charges, I think this community could have erupted in a way that could have caused irreparable harm. So I'm pleased that at least we got past this stage.
On the campaign bubble with champagne crew. Time to show you politicians what the home team do. Step outside of jurisdiction, the locals listen. Police shoot to kill us off without condition. Conviction, I got a message for the cop commission. Shot my brother, so I heard your son come up missing. By the gun, he will die for the way you live. Pray for me, please. The sins of your father forgive.